Hey there, beautiful people. Welcome back to The Dang Good Show. I'm your host, Christine Dang, but you can call me CDang. Today, we're exploring something that feels especially relevant in our rapidly evolving technological landscape: creativity and intuition, the human skills AI can't replicate. This episode completes the mini-series we've been building through episode 44, 45, and 46, where we've explored emotional intelligence in the age of automation, finding authentic connection in our digital world, and discovering purpose beyond productivity. Today, we're diving into what I believe are two of the most fascinating and powerful human capacities that set us apart in an age of artificial intelligence: our creativity and intuition. We're living in a time where AI can generate art, write poems, compose music, and even mimic human conversation. It's both amazing and, let's be honest, a little unsettling. With tools like DALL-E creating images from text prompts, ChatGPT writing essays, and AI composing music that sounds like it could be created by Bach or the Beatles, it's natural to wonder, what remains uniquely human? What creative skills and intuitive abilities do we possess that can't be replicated by algorithms? This isn't just a philosophical question. It has practical implications for how we navigate our lives, careers, and relationships in this rapidly changing landscape. Understanding the nature of human creativity and intuition helps us appreciate our unique contributions and develop these irreplaceable capacities in a world where technical skills alone are increasingly automated. So, today, we'll explore what makes human creativity and intuition special, how these capacities work, and most importantly, how we can nurture and strengthen them in ourselves. Let's dive in. Let's start by exploring what makes human creativity fundamentally different from what AI can generate. Even as these technology become increasingly sophisticated, at its core, human creativity emerges from lived experience. Our creative expressions, whether art, music, writing, problem solving, or innovation, are shaped by our emotions, relationships, cultural contexts, physical sensations, and the full range of human experience. We curate from a place of being embodied in the world with all the messiness, joy, suffering, and connection that entails. AI, by contrast, creates based on patterns it identifies in existing data. It can combine, remix, and extend these patterns in impressive ways, but it doesn't have experiences of its own. It doesn't know what it feels like to fall in love, experience loss, watch a sunset, or feel the satisfaction of solving a difficult problem. This experiential dimension gives human creativity a depth and resonance that AI-generated content often lacks. Another unique aspect of human creativity is its connection to meaning and purpose. When humans create, we often do so to express something meaningful, to connect with others, to process emotions, or to contribute to our communities. Our creative acts are intertwined with our values, identity, and sense of purpose. I remember in high school, I wrote a poem about my dog's death I experienced as a child. It wasn't technically perfect. I was just learning how to express myself, but it came from a deep place of wanting to talk about the sadness that came from a loss of life. That creative act was meaningful not because the output was flawless, no, but because it expressed something deeply important to me, my dog. AI can generate technically impressive content, but it doesn't have personal meaning or purpose driving its creations. There's also the element of intentionality. Human creativity involves making conscious choices based on aesthetic judgment, ethical considerations, personal tastes, and cultural context. We decide what to create and why, what to include or exclude, what traditions to honor or challenge. These choices reflect our unique perspective and vision. Psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, I'm so sorry if I mispronounced that, who studied creativity extensively, described it as a process by which a symbolic domain in a culture is changed. True creativity, he argues, isn't just about making something new. It's about making something meaningful that shifts how we see or understand some aspect of our shared cultural experience. This level of creativity requires not just technical skill, but cultural understanding, symbolic thinking, and intentional engagement with existing domains of knowledge and expression. None of this means that AI tools aren't valuable for creative work. They absolutely are. And many artists, writers, musicians, and designers are finding exciting ways to collaborate with AI. The point isn't to dismiss AI creativity, but to recognize that human creativity operates from a fundamentally different source: our lived experience, our search for meaning, and our intentional engagement with the world around us. Now, let's turn to intuition, another uniquely human capacity that's difficult for AI to replicate. Intuition is often described as knowing without knowing how you know. That gut feeling or inner wisdom that guides you without conscious reasoning. In episode 35 through 37, we did a deep dive into intuition, exploring how it guides us through growth, why we sometimes resist it, and how to balance it with logical thinking. Today, I want to focus specifically on why intuition remains a distinctly human advantage in the age of AI. Scientific research has shed fascinating light on what intuition actually is. Rather than being some mystical sixth sense, intuition appears to be the result of our brain's remarkable ability to recognize patterns and process information below the threshold of conscious awareness. Neuroscientist Antonio Damasio's research on what he calls somatic markers suggests that our past emotional experiences create physical responses in our bodies that guide future decisions. When we encounter a situation similar to one we experienced before, these somatic markers create physical sensations, that gut feeling, before we've consciously processed all the information. That is why experienced firefighters can sense when a building is about to collapse without being able to articulate exactly how they know, or why doctors with years of practice can diagnose certain conditions almost instantly. Their brains have accumulated thousands of patterns and associations that allow them to recognize situations quickly, even when they can't immediately explain their reasoning. What makes human intuition different from AI pattern recognition is that our intuition integrates multiple forms of knowledge, not just facts and data, but emotional responses, physical sensations, social dynamics, cultural understanding, and moral considerations. Our intuition draws on our whole person experience, including the subtle cues we've internalized through years of living in complex social environments. For example, you might intuitively sense tension in a room during a meeting. Even when everyone is being outwardly polite, this intuition comes from unconsciously processing micro expressions, slight changes in tone of voice, body language shifts, and other subtle cues that you've learned to associate with tension through countless social interactions. AI might analyze the words spoken in that meeting and find nothing amiss, missing the rich subtext that your intuition immediately grasps. This kind of intuitive social intelligence is particularly difficult for AI to replicate because so much of human communication happens beneath the surface of what's explicitly said. We're constantly reading between the lines, sensing emotions, perceiving intentions, and adjusting our understanding based on contextual factors that can be extremely difficult to codify. The same applies to intuitive understanding in countless domains, from knowing just how to comfort a friend in distress, to sensing the right moment to push forward or pull back in a negotiation, to feeling when a creative project is right, even if you can't articulate exactly why. These intuitive capacities draw on our embodied, emotional, social nature in ways that remain uniquely human. I want to share a personal story that illustrates how creativity and intuition work together in real life and why they're so powerful when we learn to trust them. Now, a few years ago, I was working with a team that built promotional websites for clients. We had this major project launching a new platform that users needed to register for, and we were using the latest analytic tools to track performance. The data we were seeing looked incredible. High traffic numbers, lots of page views, and what seemed like strong word-of-mouth advertising bringing in new visitors. Based on this data, our team was celebrating. The analytics showed users were spending significant time on the registration pages, and we were seeing thousands of new accounts being created. From a purely data-driven perspective or data, this looked like a massive success. We even started planning to scale up the same approach for future launches, but something didn't feel right. Despite all the metrics suggesting we were on the right track, I had this persistent gut feeling that we were missing something important. I noticed that our customer service tickets were also increasing dramatically, which seemed contradictory to our successful launch. At first, I tried to ignore this feeling. After all, who was I to question the data? But the feeling persisted, growing stronger each day. Finally, I decided to listen to my intuition and dig deeper into what was actually happening with our users. I suggested that we take a different approach. Instead of just looking at the numbers, we should actually follow the user journey ourselves and talk directly to some customers. This wasn't the standard procedure since our data looked so good on paper, but I pushed for it anyways. What we discovered was eye-opening. It turned out that one of the issues was that the users were unable to register successfully on their first attempt due to subtle technical issues. The system would appear to accept their information, but wouldn't actually complete the registration. Frustrated, people would try again, sometimes 2 or 3 times, before finally getting through. Each failed attempt created a partially completed profile in our database and generated multiple page views. So our great metrics, high page views, lots of time spent on the registration page, and numerous profiles being created were actually indicating a serious problem. What looked like success in our analytics was actually users struggling with our platform, getting increasingly frustrated and flooding our customer service team with complaints. The interesting part was that after each project, we kept getting the same kinds of angry texts and emails from users. But instead of fixing the technical issues and moving on, I felt we needed a more holistic approach. This is where my intuition and creativity really kicked in. I proposed what I called the help me help you approach. Instead of just making our website functional, why not make them genuinely supportive and community oriented in some way? We slowly built comprehensive how-to guides, created an extensive FAQ page, polished up context throughout the user journey, and simplified wording to help with ease of registration. We redesigned the entire experience around the idea of helping users feel supported at every step, rather than just getting them through a transaction. What happened next was remarkable. Not only did we fix the technical problems, which immediately reduced customer service tickets, but we created something much more valuable, a sense of community and care. Our users started to notice the thoughtfulness behind how everything was put together. We began receiving compliments about our customer service team and how helpful our resources were. One of the most rewarding outcomes was seeing how our changes impacted older adults. We received messages from users over 60 years old who raved about how our platform helped them navigate the digital world with more confidence. One message I'll never forget was from a 72-year-old grandmother who wrote, "For the first time, I didn't need to call my grandkids for help with registering for something online. Your instructions made me feel capable instead of confused." These users became our most passionate advocates, telling their friends about the thoughtfulness of our platform and how supported they felt throughout the process. What began as a technical fix evolved into a complete philosophy about how we approached user experience. All because we followed that initial intuitive sense that something wasn't right with our data-driven approach. Looking back, I realized my intuition wasn't magical. It was drawing on subtle observations and experiences I had accumulated over the years of working with users and websites. My brain had recognized patterns that weren't captured in our standard analytics, allowing me to sense that something was off despite what the service level data suggested. This experience taught me several valuable lessons about creativity and intuition. First, data and analytics are powerful tools, but they only capture what we already know to measure and can be misleading without context. Numbers without understanding the human experience behind them can lead us completely astray. Second, intuition often speaks to us through persistent feelings that don't go away even when we try to dismiss them. That nagging sense that something wasn't adding up, despite the positive-looking metrics, was my intuition trying to break through. Third, the most powerful solutions happen when we integrate analytical thinking with intuitive wisdom. By combining our data with real human investigation and creative problem solving, we created something that pure analytics would have missed completely. Not just a functional website, but a supportive community. And finally, having the courage to follow your creative intuition, even when it goes against what seems like obvious data, can lead to breakthroughs that wouldn't be possible through standard approaches alone. This courage comes from trusting yourself and recognizing the value of your lived experience and perspective. Enjoying what you're hearing? Fantastic. To make sure you're always in the loop with the latest episode, just hit that subscribe button. Your support makes all the difference. And hey, this podcast thrives because of awesome listeners like you. So a big shout out for that. And of course, I'm on Instagram. Find and follow me at Christine_Dang. Lastly, looking for more information on what we discussed today? Just cruise on over to thedangoodshow.com, click on the episode you're curious about, and voila, access to the show notes. Now, without further ado, let's jump back into the show. So, how can we nurture these powerful human capacities of creativity and intuition? Here are some practical approaches I've found helpful in my own journey. Number 1, create regular space for unstructured thinking. Now, creativity and intuition thrive in open space. Our minds need time to wander, make unexpected connections, and process information below the surface of conscious awareness. Yet, many of us fill every moment with inputs. Scrolling through social media, listening to podcasts, or consuming content whenever we have a free moment. Try building regular white space into your schedule, time with no agenda, no input, and no pressure to produce anything. This might look like taking a walk without your phone, sitting quietly with a cup of tea, or simply staring out the window for a few minutes. These moments of mental spaciousness allow your creative and intuitive capacities to breathe and strengthen. Number 2, practice mindful awareness. Mindfulness, the practice of present moment awareness without judgment, helps us tune into our intuitive signals and creative impulses. When we're caught up in stress, worry, or distraction, we often miss the subtle cues our intuition provides or the creative ideas trying to emerge. Simple mindfulness practices like focusing on your breath, noticing physical sensations in your body, or paying full attention to a daily activity can strengthen your awareness muscles. This increased awareness makes it easier to recognize intuitive feelings and create insights when they arise. Number 3, engage in cross-disciplinary learning. Now, one of the most powerful ways to boost creativity is to explore diverse fields, ideas, and perspectives. When we expose ourselves to different domains of knowledge, cultural traditions, or ways of thinking, we create the conditions for novel connections and insights to emerge. If you're in a technical field, explore music or art. If you're artistically inclined, learn about science or mathematics. Read books outside your usual interests. Have conversations with people from different backgrounds, or take courses in subjects you know nothing about. These diverse inputs create a rich internal landscape from which creative ideas can emerge. Number 4, trust the process, not just the outcomes. Both creativity and intuition involve trusting processes that aren't always linear or logical. Creative breakthroughs often come after periods of confusion, frustration, and apparent dead ends. Intuitive insights may not immediately make sense or fit into existing frameworks. Learning to trust these processes means becoming comfortable with uncertainty and ambiguity. It means recognizing that the messy middle, where you don't yet have the answers or the final product, is a necessary and valuable part of both creative work and intuitive development. Number 5, build your pattern recognition through deliberate practice. Remember that intuition is largely based on pattern recognition beneath conscious awareness. The more patterns you expose yourself to in a particular domain, the stronger your intuitive capacities become in that area. This is why experienced doctors, firefighters, chess players, and other experts can make intuitive judgments that novices can't. They've internalized thousands of patterns through years of practice. The good news is that you can deliberately build this pattern recognition in areas that matter to you. Immerse yourself deeply in your field of interest. Study the masters. Analyze both successes and failures, and expose yourself to diverse examples and scenarios. Over time, you'll develop the ability to intuitively recognize patterns and make judgments that others might miss. Number 6, create feedback loops for your intuition. To refine your intuition, create systems for testing and learning from your intuitive hunches. When you have a gut feeling about something, write it down before taking action. Later, reflect on whether your intuition was accurate and what factors might have influenced it. This isn't about judging yourself when your intuition misses the mark. It's about developing a more nuanced understanding of when and how your intuition serves you best. Over time, you'll learn to distinguish between genuine intuitive signals and other feelings like fear, wishful thinking, or bias. And lastly, number 7, embrace constraints as creative catalysts. Counterintuitively, creativity often flourishes within constraints rather than complete freedom. When faced with limitations, whether time, resources, or specific requirements, our minds are forced to find innovative solutions that we might not discover in conditions of unlimited possibility. Instead of seeing constraints as obstacles to creativity, try viewing them as helpful boundaries that focus your creative energy. Give yourself specific parameters for creative projects, imposed deadlines, or arbitrary rules that force you to think differently. These constraints can spark surprising creative solutions. Now, by incorporating these practices in your life, not all, but maybe some, you can strengthen your innately human capacities for creativity and intuition, abilities that remain uniquely valuable in our increasingly automated world. As we wrap up this exploration of creativity and intuition, I want to address how these uniquely human capacities can work alongside artificial intelligence rather than in opposition to it. The future isn't about human versus machine. It's about finding the optimal partnership between human creativity and intuition on one hand, and AI's power and pattern recognition on the other. When used thoughtfully, AI tools can actually enhance our creative and intuitive capacities rather than diminish them. For example, AI can handle routine aspects of creative work, like initial research, organizing information, or generating multiple variations on a theme, freeing our human creativity to focus on the higher level aspects of creation that requires emotional intelligence, cultural understanding, and purposeful direction. Similarly, AI can process vast amounts of data to identify patterns that might inform our intuition, while our human intuitive capacity integrates this information with our lived experience, ethical considerations, and contextual understanding to make nuanced judgments. I like to think of this relationship like the collaboration between a jazz pianist and their instrument. The piano provides the technical capability to produce notes, and the musician brings the soul, intention, and artistry that transform those notes into moving music. Neither could create the final result alone. The magic happens in their integration. As AI continues to advance, the most valuable human contribution will increasingly be what machines can't replicate: our ability to create with meaning and purpose, to make intuitive leaps based on embodied experience, to understand the subtle context of human interaction, and to bring ethical and emotional intelligence in our choices. Rather than fearing that AI will replace human creativity and intuition, we can see this technological shift as an invitation to develop these uniquely human capacities more fully. In a world where routine tasks and technical skills are increasingly automated, our creativity and intuition become not less valuable, but more essential. The key is maintaining what I call conscious collaboration with technology, using AI tools thoughtfully in service of human purposes and values, rather than letting them direct or limit our creative and intuitive processes. This means being intentional about when and how we use these tools, and always grounding our work in lived experience, meaning, and purpose that makes us human. By nurturing our creativity and intuition while thoughtfully incorporating AI capabilities, we can create a future where technology enhances rather than replaces what makes us uniquely human. This balanced approach allows us to use the best of both human and machine intelligence to address the complex challenges and opportunities we face in the modern world. As we conclude our exploration of creativity and intuition in the age of AI, I hope you're feeling inspired about these uniquely human capacities that can't be replicated by algorithms. These aren't just nice to have qualities. They're essential aspects of what makes us human and valuable contributors in an increasingly automated world. The good news is that creativity and intuition aren't fixed traits that some people have and others don't. They're muscles we can all develop through conscious practice, openness to experience, and trust in our innate human capacities. By creating space for unstructured thinking, practicing mindful awareness, engaging with diverse perspectives, and trusting the creative and intuitive processes, we can strengthen our distinctive human abilities. This episode completes our mini-series of navigating the human side of our increasingly technological world, from emotional intelligence in the age of automation in episode 44, to finding authentic connection in our digital landscape in episode 45, to discovering purpose beyond productivity in episode 46, and now exploring the human skills AI can't replicate. I hope these conversations have helped you appreciate the enduring value of your humanity in a rapidly changing world. For more on related topics, I encourage you to check out our 3-part series on intuition in episodes 35, 36, and 37, where we explored intuition and its role in growth and decision-making in even greater depth. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this topic. How do you nurture your creativity and intuition? In what ways have these capacities guided you to insights or creations that logical analysis alone couldn't produce? Drop me a message on Instagram at Christine_Dang or visit c-dang.com to share your experiences. Thank you so much for joining me on The Dang Good Show. Until next time, stay creative, trust your intuition, and as always, stay dang good. Much love, CDang signing out. Thank you for joining us on The Dang Good Show. Remember to swing by our website, thedangoodshow.com, where you can easily subscribe on platforms like Apple, Google, and Spotify to keep up with our latest episodes. Loved what you heard today? A thumbs up and a positive review on your favorite listening platform would be incredibly appreciated. And if our show struck a chord with you, sharing it with just one friend can help our community grow and thrive. Thanks once more for lending your ears to me on The Dang Good Show. Until we meet again, take care and goodbye.